Madeline's Madeline. Don't be fooled by the awful poster. It looks really goofy and suggests kind of a silly comedy or something, but the reality is far different from that, as the film is actually this art house indie drama about manipulating emotions, mental illness, and the student master dynamic. It features three prominent characters. The main one is a teenage girl named Madeline. In many ways, reminded me of Zendaya in Euphoria, not just because the actress looks kind of similar, but there are also some echoes of that character in there as well. When we meet her, she's frequenting a theater group where she goes to rehearsals and is able to fool around with other young people, pretending she's someone else or even pretending she's a cat. We learn that she has had mental issues in the past, and theater is a kind of a part of her therapy, basically. It's a safe space for her where she can be herself. Meanwhile, there's still tension between her and her mother, often escalating into violent arguments, shouting, physical violence, overall unpleasant stuff, which pushes Madeline into the embrace of Evangeline, the theater coordinator slash instructor slash teacher. But as they become closer, Evangeline becomes fascinated with Madeline as a character and begins to pull threads from her personal life into the stage project that they're working on, which slowly turns that whole place from the safe space into something much more anxiety inducing. So the movie is quite interesting in terms of the themes it explores. First and foremost, there's the student-master relationship, with the teacher, willing to manipulate and exploit Madeline's real feelings and experiences for the sake of a better performance, which kind of reminded me of Whiplash at times. But there are moments when the movie flips this dynamic around and Madeline unexpectedly takes charge, takes control, basically doing to Evangeline what she was previously doing to her, pulling on her personal life within the performance, and in turn, hurting her, which I thought were the best scenes in the film, honestly. Those moments when unexpectedly the victim becomes the predator, where that carefully built personal dynamic is completely turned on its head. Secondly, there's the question of mental illness, the idea of a safe space and how easily that inner calm of a fractured person can be disturbed by people who have their own agendas and only pretend to care. Some of the stuff that happens to Madeline made me feel quite uneasy and uncomfortable, even though there's nothing really like explicit or physical. It's more of a subtle psychological abuse, pulling on someone's strings. In terms of the mental problems, I think the movie is also shot in a very specific way to showcase that aspect. The camera is often sort of floating around instead of being locked in one single place. The image is unfocused, faces slightly out of frame, many close-ups with, not the entire face being in the shot. Often the eyes are somewhere off. Also, the way that the scenes are edited together make them seem like they're all happening in quick succession, one after another, like it's one long stream of consciousness, where in reality several months pass in the story. So all these things were meant to put us in Madeline's shoes, make us slightly disoriented and not always quite there in the moment, which I think also worked quite well. The one thing I'm not so sure about was the ending. I thought the finale starts with something really impressive, but then at the very end there's something else that I just didn't quite understand. I didn't quite get what was the final point that the movie was trying to make. But other than that, I was pretty engaged throughout. I think it's a pretty original film, very well acted, surprising at some points, deliberately unpleasant at others, and most of all, put together in a really focused and thought out way. Solid film.